Well, welcome everybody. My name's Reese Van Beek, and I'm a teacher, middle and high school. And this year I'm working, I have a special job to try and offer entrepreneurial education to students across the province. And so it's really exciting to have teachers from all different districts joining us today to learn about personal finance and budgeting. We had one other lesson, which we're going to make available on Teams, and it was just about kind of how you think about money. Today's a little bit more in detail, and we're going to be asking some questions to see how much money you might spend after you're done high school. I am, as I said, I'm a teacher, and I'm in the Idea Center classroom, which in the afternoon we have high school students come here to learn about financial education. And there's a classroom like this for high school students in in Moncton, Miramichi, and St. John. So if you're interested, and once we get field trips going again, and you want to come do maybe a trip to see this classroom and do some activities about financial literacy, and or you want to learn about starting a market or a business, that's the district has made these classrooms available for middle schools as well, so we can help you arrange that. And as well, I'll just mention here as we are just about to get started, it's 11:15. Hi, Ruby. Great to see you. Um, if that we have release time coming up for teachers. So if you're interested in resources about financial literacy, and we can sort of talk about how it meets math outcomes and literacy outcomes. If you want some time out of the classroom, teachers, to look at these resources, and Haley and I'd be happy to make sure you get logged in okay and show you the things that we've been working on. As you'll see today, we're focusing on the Junior Achievement Campus. And I'm also really excited to share something called the Idea Market, which is a resource for doing a market in your school, either virtually or face-to-face. It's really exciting, and it's very student inquiry based, and students develop projects. So there's going to be release time once the supply teacher shortage is over, which hopefully is going to happen soon. Then we'll be able to work with teachers, give them time to dig into this stuff. So that's kind of my pitch for April and May and the summer, even to look at deeper into this. And I'll hand it over to Haley to sort of welcome everyone to the Junior Achievement Campus material. And I guess maybe we could ask our guest students to tell us where they are, and if you guys can turn your mics on for a second, just introduce yourselves, that would be great. And thank you for agreeing to be our student guinea pigs today. Luke, you want to go first? What grade are you in?
I'm at M&S, currently situated, sitting down in the hallway.
And what's M&S stand for?
Milledgeville North.
Right on. All right. How about you, Jack?
I'm also at Milledgeville North School, and I am in grade 7, and I am right outside the office.
Okay, great. Frankie, are you in the same class?
I am in the same class, and I'm also situated right in front of the washrooms in the hallway. So.
Okay. How about you, Ruby? Are you also putting up with these characters?
Yeah, I'm also in 7th grade M&S, and I'm sitting in the hallway right beside Luke.
Okay. All right. Well, great to see you today.
This is awesome.
Over to you, Haley.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm super excited to see so many students join us today. Jack, Luke, Ruby, Frankie, thank you so much for helping us. You guys are our all-stars from the last session, so I'm super happy to have you back. To the students who are here in the classrooms, really excited to have you here too. So my name is Haley. I work for Junior Achievement, and you know, the basics of Junior Achievement is that, you know, we provide programs to students and educators and students just like you, because we want you guys to be set up for a successful future. And, you know, we focus on 3 things, which is entrepreneurship, work readiness skills, and what we're going to talk about today, which is financial literacy. So the activity that we're going to do today, and I'm going to have our 4 students that are on camera help me, is we are going to do a budgeting activity. So I just shared my screen. And again, I can no longer see you. So if there are questions, I'll rely on Reese and our students to let me know if there are things that come up. So basically what we're going to do is, and I'm going to have our students help us out with this, and you guys are going to make some decisions for the larger group. So first of all, I want you to imagine that you're moving out. You're going to leave home. The bank of mom and dad is closed. Okay, so you're not getting much help from them. This is all on you. Okay, so basically, we're going to go through 5 or 6 different things here, and we're going to have the students make the decisions about what they want their life to look like. Okay, so again, no right or wrong answer at this point. We'll get to the end and we'll see how you fared. So our first section is living expenses. So where do you want to live? We've got a few options here. There is the bachelor apartment that has no bedrooms. It's just one big room with everything in it. There's a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom.
Haley, can I just ask for a second while they think about that? Guys, can you see the choices on your screen okay? Or do we need to zoom in a little bit? Thumbs up? Okay. How about you, Luke? Yeah? Okay, great. So I've got Frankie in my top left corner. So
You're
Frankie,
on, Frankie. Where are you?
yeah, what do you think?
Maybe, Reese, how we can do this is we'll rotate through the students.
Okay,
and
cool.
In each section, they get to pick what their life is going to look like. So Frankie, having a look at these living expenses, okay, this section, do you want to live in a bachelor with no bedroom, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom house?
I would say if I was just moving out on my own, no parents, probably a 1-bedroom because as it would be cheaper than, you know, a 3-bedroom per se. And what do you really need as someone who's just moving out, really?
Perfect.
And it's better
Okay.
financially too.
Great choice. Okay, so you'll see that when we selected the 1-bedroom, our utilities changed, our furniture changed, and the insurance changed. Okay, so utilities are your heat, your water, and your electricity. Got to have those things. You don't have a choice. Your furniture, okay, so it's estimating that you're going to spend about $79 a month there. And your insurance, so you're going to need insurance, okay, just in case something happens, if there's a flood or there's a fire, those types of things, that's when insurance comes in handy. Now, Frankie, there's one more piece of this, okay? How many people are you going to live with? So is it just going to be you on your own, or are you going to have one roommate? I'm going to not allow you to select 3 or 4 people because you're only in a 1-bedroom.
I would say, sorry, there's some background noise, but I'd say 2 people because you can split rent up by 2, and it would be cheaper for each person together, and you can pay together, and you can share a room, you know?
Yeah, or someone could sleep on the couch.
Exactly. Yep, that's great. Okay, perfect. So we're going to live in a 1-bedroom, our utilities, all that stuff's taken care of, and we're going to have a roommate. So our total monthly living expenses is $576. Okay. So next, Reese, who's next?
We're gonna go to Luke next.
Okay, Luke, you get to pick what kind of phone and internet plan you're going to have.
Oh, Haley, you know what? Luke, I think Ruby, do you have a cell phone? I might go to Ruby on this one.
Sure.
Ruby, you have a cell phone, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go to Ruby because
Okay.
somebody told me she had a cell phone. I think she's got more experience with this. We'll save Luke for the next one.
Okay, perfect. So Ruby, there's no right or wrong answer here. Okay, it's just preference. What do you want? Do you want just the basic plan at $45 a month? That's just your internet, pay as you go, mobile and voice? Or do you want the complete plan? So that's your high-speed internet, your data.
In my opinion, I'd probably pick the basic plan because you still have internet and it's a good amount of money to pay for it.
Perfect. So we're going to go with our basic plan at $45 a month. Next section is our transportation. So who wants to do the transportation?
Got Luker lined up for that one.
Okay, Luke, how are you?
There we go.
Okay, perfect. He's there. So, Luke, you've got a couple of choices to make here. So there are 2 choices, and then depending on what you pick, there could be more. Okay. So transportation, how are you going to get around town? Would you like to buy a monthly bus pass for $80 a month? Okay. Or for the purpose of this activity, we can assume that you can drive a car, okay? You have your driver's license. First choice, are you going to drive your own car or are you going to take public transit?
Well, I think depending on where you are, you could probably walk to a lot of places, but so I think public transit would be the easiest.
Perfect. So just so that everybody else is aware, there are a few things here. If you had your own car, there are things here that you would need to take care of, okay? So that's your payment, your car payment. You got to put gas in the car. You have to pay insurance on it, and you have to have a fund that's going to help you in case something happens to your vehicle, okay? But Luke has picked that public transport, so we're going to click next. Food. Who do we have left? Jack?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Jack Attack is up.
Jack, you get to pick out how much you're going to spend on food. So there are a few options here. Are you going to cook your own meals at $600 a month? Are you going to cook your own meals through the week, but on the weekends you're going to go out to eat? Or would you like a mix of both?
Well, I think
that number is going to change.
Okay. I think that cooking your own meals would probably be the best for you financially and for your health. Because if you're eating out a lot, then that's not always the best for your health, right?
Okay, perfect. I love it. So we're going to cook our own meals at home. So we're going to estimate that's going to cost us $600 a month. Next, who are we back to? Frankie?
No. Oh, yeah, you're right. We are on to Frankie. Sorry.
Okay. Perfect. So Frankie, you're up for entertainment. So how much are you going to spend on entertainment? Okay, so there are a few things here, and I'll just go through each of them, and then you can let me know kind of if you want to spend more or spend less on each of these, okay?
And I'll just add in the chat, if anybody who other than our 4 super students wants to fire a question into the mix about the choices, please just put it in the chat and we can jump on that too.
For sure. So there are 3 things that you have to decide on here, Frankie. Recreation and entertainment. Okay, so these are things like your streaming services. So your Netflix, your Disney Plus, your Prime. Maybe you participate in some kind of recreational sport. Maybe you want to just go out to eat once a month or go out with your friends once a month or, get books, magazines, movies, those types of things. So that's your recreation and entertainment. The other one is gifts. So, every year Christmas comes around, every year birthdays come around. And this is something that I have in my budget. And I allocate every time I get paid, I put a little bit of money into a little savings for gifts. That way, when, Christmas comes around or birthdays come around, I'm not, scrambling to find some money to buy a gift. I have that little fund there that's going to take care of that. Okay. And then the last one is travel. So things are opening up again. Perhaps you want to be able to take a road trip with your friends. Maybe you want to go south for a week. This is, entirely up to you. And for my example, I do put money away for gifts and I do put money away for travel. Things, again, are opening up. So, I have the itch to travel again. So I want to be able to make sure that I can cover that without getting into debt or getting into a credit card. Okay, so Frankie, how much money would you like to spend a month on your recreation and entertainment? So you can stick with the 75 if you're good with that. You can go less or you can go more.
I do have a question. So first, so would this be, so you have a job and you get a pay each month? Would you be like putting that money away like for these things like recreation and entertainment and gifts and travel? Would it be from your pay each month or would it just be with, okay. So I'd probably keep the recreation and entertainment as 75.
Okay, perfect.
And I'd probably put gifts up to $30. Just
okay, we can do that.
And I'd put travel as $50.
$50. Okay, perfect. Great job.
And Haley, I think Frankie's question is excellent because we're assuming here that you've moved out and you have a job, or you have expenses and you're going to have to figure out how to pay it, whether it's through a job or you're going to get help from someone, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. So when we
yeah.
get to the end of this, I'm going to give you a paycheck and you're going to be able to see, you know, are you spending too much or not enough? Or you got some to save and things like that. So, and we're to our last little section here. So I don't know, Reese, if you want to pick somebody to, or maybe we can do one each.
Let's do that. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, so Frankie, I'll stick with you for personal incidentals. So personal incidentals are, you know, your toothpaste, your soap, your makeup, you know, first aid kits, those types of things, your shampoo. You know, you've got to be clean because you're going to go to work and you're going to be out in public. So you can't have bad breath, or, you know, you got to be able to wash yourself and your hair. So you have to account for those in your budget. So how much do you think you would spend every month on those types of things?
I'd put it as either 45 or 50, but I'll keep it as the 45 range. So I'll just put it.
So $45. Let's go to Ruby for clothing. So Ruby, you are going to get to decide what you're going to spend every month on clothing. So, you know, you're going to consider your shoes, your warm clothes, your jeans, and everything like that. So there are a couple of things here. So maybe you're good with Value Village and going there to shop. Maybe you want to go to the mall and shop in one of the more expensive stores. So what do you think you would spend every month on clothing?
I would put the clothing rate as around $50 because depending on the season, because coats can be very expensive and so can shoes and jeans. So I put it around 50.
Okay, perfect. It's a great answer and you don't necessarily have to spend this every month, right? So maybe when the fall comes along and things get colder, you need a new jacket, but you've got that little fund to help you out. Okay. Let's go to Luke for mandatory savings. So your little emergency fund here. So in the last session, I gave a couple of examples. You want to be putting money away in case something happens. So the example I gave in the previous session was a year ago, the screen on my computer broke, and you know, it was just unusable, and I needed the computer. So I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? But luckily for me, I had that emergency fund that I could go to and go and buy the new computer, and I wasn't, you know, going into debt with a credit card or having to borrow money. Had that emergency savings just in case. So Luke, how much would you like to put away every month for your emergency savings?
I think you should add $30 extra to that 100 because you never know what's going to happen. So you should be prepared.
I love it. And you know, things like, you know, something you might lose your job, or you know, there's always something that could come up. So having a little fund there is great. And I think, Jack, you're our last one with donations and charities. So, you know, it's always nice to be able to make donations to organizations, you know, like JA. I fundraise for a living, so I have to throw that in. But there's maybe an organization that's really close to you that you want to support, like the Cancer Society or the Boys and Girls Club, or, you know, the SPCA. How much would you like to put away every month for donations?
Yeah, I think I would put around $35 a month, because even though you just moved out and you probably need that money, there are more people that people that need that money probably more than you.
Okay, that's a great answer. I love it. You guys are very generous. That's awesome. Okay, so we are down to our final step here. So you'll see over on the left-hand side in that green budget square, our total expenses for the month are $1,716. But what I haven't told you is I've given you a job, and it's a job at Beavis Car Rental, where you're working the counter, you're talking to customers, you're renting cars, and you're cleaning the cars when they come back. So what I'd like to go through right now is what your pay stub would look like. And then we'll compare that against your budget to see how you're doing with that. So let's go through each of these items on your pay stub. So your gross pay, okay, that's the amount of money that you make, but it's not the amount of money that gets deposited into your bank account every time you get paid, okay? Because there are these three things here, these three things that are called deductions that everybody pays, Okay, we all pay these. Income tax, so we don't have a choice. The government is going to take income tax of $545 out. And that money is going back to the government so that they can pay for health care, so that they can maintain the roads that we use going back and forth to work and to the mall and, you know, visiting friends and family. That's where that money is going. Okay. The second one there is CPP, and CPP is the Canada Pension Plan. And I explained this, you guys are young, so the easiest way to understand this is you're giving the government the Canada Pension Plan. You're giving them $116 every month. And the government's more or less saving that for you. And then when you retire, you can start to collect that back. Okay, so when you get to retirement, the money that you kind of put out to the government there, they're going to start to pay back to you. Okay. And then the third deduction is EI, and that's employment insurance. Okay, and they're taking $35 every month for that. And employment insurance is similar to CPP in that the government's kind of saving that for you. And they're saving that for you just in case you lose your job. If you lose your job, you can apply for employment insurance and they'll be able to help you out and you know, give you a little bit of money while you're in between jobs and while you're looking for your next one. Okay, so your total deductions is $696. That means your net pay, so your net pay is what's actually going into your bank account every month, is $1,511. If we switch over and we look at that green box on the left, you'll see our total expenses, the total amount of money that we're spending is $1,716. That means that we're spending more than we're making. Okay, we're actually spending $205 more than we actually have. Okay, that money has to come from somewhere. So it's typically, you know, for this example, it's probably going to come out of a credit card. So every month you're going to put $205 on your credit card, and at the end of 30 days, the credit card company is going to want that money. But if you don't have it, then interest kicks in. And that's where we really get into some trouble with credit cards. So how about we go back to our budget and let's look at a few things, and maybe we can get that 205 into a positive number. So let's go back to living expenses. I don't think that there's much here that we can change. You know, it's a 1-bedroom, you've got a roommate. That's it's pretty good what you're doing there. So I don't think there's much to change here. Your telecommunications, you've picked the basic plan, so that's great. Not much you can do there. That is what it is. Transportation, I think you made a great choice here with the public transit. So your monthly bus pass is $80. Great choice. Nothing we can do there. Now, food. I think the $600 a month for you is probably a lot. So in the previous lesson, we talked, maybe mom and dad might sneak you over some leftovers from theirs or drop off some food. You could also think that if you cook dinner the night before, you'd have leftovers for lunch. So I think what we could do is we could probably get that down. And do you guys think that maybe $450 a month might be good? Think that still gives you a lot?
Jack was our food man. Maybe we have to check with him if that's all right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what the custom meant. I didn't really know that you could change how much you were going to actually pay.
Yeah, so I think if we take into consideration that you're going to have leftovers, and if one meal might actually cover 2 or 3 of your meals, so I think $450 a month is pretty good for you. So let's keep it there, and you can see we're getting very close here to getting into a positive number. So let's go to entertainment. Any changes we want? I think who do we go to with Frankie for this one?
Yep.
Okay, Frankie, do you think there's some changes that you could make here to help us out?
I think, with recreation and entertainment, I mean, obviously there's so many things you could do. Like, you have a roommate, you can share Netflix plans, but personally, I think probably we could take it down to $55 even, or less, 45 even. Just
How about I meet you at the middle and we go with 50?
okay.
Now, what about gifts? Do you think you're still good with $30 a month?
Yes.
Okay, and travel, 50, do you think, for a month?
I think we should change it to 30. I think that's a solid number.
Okay, 30.
Seems to want to do 28 or 31. It doesn't like 30.
Okay, we'll go with 31 because I'm not going to fight with that one. Okay, we're really close here. We're only $11 short. So let's go over to miscellaneous. There are some things here I think that we could adjust, and I won't go to each of you individually. I think $45 a month for your incidentals is good. Clothing, $50 is probably a little high, but I think we could deal with that, especially if you think that it's going to be a little savings kind of thing for you, so you won't spend that every month. You probably spend it in the fall and in the spring. Okay, so I think that's good there. Your mandatory savings. Now, while I think $130 is really, really great and it's a good idea, I think you could probably get it to $120. I think that's still a really great savings that you're doing every month. And then your donations and charities, I think, $20 is great for that. So now look, now we're actually going to have extra money at the end of every month. We're going to have an extra $14 every month.
Woohoo!
Okay, so you guys made some great choices right off the bat. And, if you think about it, mom and dad are making these decisions too. Like there are reasons why that sometimes they have to say no, that, you can't do that this time, or you can't do both of these activities. There are reasons for that. And, your parents probably have similar budgets to this. So I hope that you guys had a really enjoyed this and learned a little bit from it. So if there are questions in the chat, we can talk about that.
Ruby, did you have your hand up? Fire away.
So if we were to have a roommate, wouldn't they have a job too, where we'd be able to make more money for the apartment and food, or would that not be taken into consideration?
That's a very good point. But to answer your question, this is for you personally. Okay, so your roommate is going to have to do a similar activity. So I think if you were to have a roommate, this would be one of those things that you would sit down with them, talk about. Okay, and then I think you could probably save some things. But it automatically kind of calculates your living expenses to be shared. So it already divides them in two.
Great question.
These are, great questions.
Let's encourage anybody listening as well to fire some questions in the chat. We are recording this session for some teachers whose class didn't really fit in this time slot. So I would love to have other classes turn the camera on, but we want to be able to share this broadly. So if you can put your students' questions in the chat, that would be great. We wanted to kind of do kind of a quick survey too. I wondered how many students listening right now have these conversations with their families. Like they know how much their mortgage or rent costs. They know how much their mom or dad or guardian spends on groceries every month. So I wonder if teachers could put in the chat, I'll ask this, if everybody could raise their hand if they have these kinds of conversations at home. When we asked the morning group, it was only about 15%, like 1 out of 10, students really ever gets involved with this. Most parents are just kind of doing this stuff, and students know there's money being spent on it, but they don't know how much. So show of hands, do you have these kinds of conversations with your family about the money and how much things cost? And I'll just invite teachers to kind of put a percentage. Yeah, our students online, do you put your hand up if you do have these conversations with your family about money, and you can just leave your hand down if it's not really something you pay much attention to or get dragged into. I think in the past, surveys showed that it is about 10% usually, but I think we're trying to change that so that, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Frankie. We're trying to change that a bit more so that, going as you get into high school and you start to plan for your future and think about what job you want, working at a rental car agency is a pretty good job. And yet, it's tough to make ends meet. And so you got, that's part of when you think about your future, you want to know how much different jobs you might be interested in doing, how much pay do you get, because it's hard not having enough money to pay your bills. I think there's an expression like money doesn't make you happy, but the lack of it can make life hard, and that is true. And then the numbers are actually a little higher in some of the classes. Haley, are you seeing the chat there, like
Yeah, I'm just looking
50%
at
or
the chat
40%?
there, yeah. I'm very impressed, and I was impressed with the last session too, because with the last session, I think we kind of had some that were at 20%, 25%. I'm very impressed. I think these are conversations that parents need to have with their kids at a high level, those types of things. So they don't need to get into the nitty gritty pieces of it, but I do think it's beneficial for kids to know that things cost money and need to actually have that money to pay for it.
There's a point that kind of went up in the chat that if you're living in a rural community, public transportation isn't really an option. I mean, at best, say you were coming in from the Hampton area. Well, we're talking about St. John now. You'd have to drive into Hampton to get on the bus there. So that's a really good point. It's not necessarily an option.
For sure, yeah, and I think that this was a very high level kind of looking at what would be best case scenario for a lot of people. But you're right, some people don't have a choice.
And we have a lot of students. Madam Dempster made a good point about talking about sports and fees and things like that. And I think that's a good starting point to look at the cost of things and kind of start making that equation. Any other questions there about the different choices our students made, or about how much people earn? Here's a good question. Some students are talking about the amount of money that college costs. I'll speak about my daughter. She did not really learn about that at all until she took grade 12 economics. Fortunately, she took it in grade 11, so she realized how expensive it is. But really, I think people are realizing with the cost going up that we need to start planning for these things earlier and learning about how to apply for scholarships and get free money to help with those costs. Someone also asked about the difference between living at home for as long as you can or wanting to move out. And you had a good answer for that, Haley. What was kind of your thoughts on saving money by trying to live at home or moving out?
I think it's kind of a personal decision. For me, I'm in Fredericton, and I went to UNB, so I lived at home. It was great. I had the opportunity to save some money and pay for university. My parents weren't in a position to help me pay for college, so I had to apply for scholarships. I had to apply for grants and get a student loan. So there are all kinds of things out there that are centered around college and university that are worth looking into and having conversations early. But some of my friends, they wanted to go to St. FX or to Dow or to McMaster, someplace that wasn't Fredericton. They wanted to leave, and they had no choice but to not live at home. I had friends that traveled around the world to go to university, so it's a personal thing for me. I was happy to attend UNB here in Fredericton, and I love that. So for me, it was I was able to live at home.
One thing we haven't talked about today, and we're getting, well, no, we still have about 10 minutes left, so we could touch on it at least, is the difference between having a bank account and having a credit card. And one thing we'll mention is that until you finish school at the end of grade 12, you can get a free bank account, which is nice because you can learn how they work and get used to using them and how all that stuff works while you're in school, and there's no monthly charge for that. Versus credit cards, which you mentioned, like if you fall behind, you might need to borrow money from someone or someplace. And credit cards are very popular, but part of the reason that Haley and I are able to do this is because there's actually a big problem in Canada right now with credit cards and taking bank loans. The average Canadian adult has over $10,000 in credit card debt or loans. And if you're taking a special loan for like a house or a car, that can be a good thing. But if you're borrowing money from the bank because you can't pay your monthly bills because you haven't kind of had this kind of education, that's not a good thing, because you can just keep sinking further and further. And credit cards can be part of that. They can be helpful or they can be a problem because did you already mention, you mentioned the interest, right? Like if you owe the money at the end of the month, it ends up snowballing and costing you more.
Yeah, it does. I think I mentioned it quickly, but if you think of it, think of credit card. So a debit card is, think of it like cash in your hand. You have that money, that's your money. But with a credit card, the bank has just said, we're going to give you $1,000 a month just in case you need it. It's there if you need it, but if you don't, no worries. But if you do need it and you use it, we want our money back in 30 days. And if you don't pay our money back in 30 days, then we're going to charge you interest, which is quite high. It's like 19 to 22% right now. And then that's going to carry over to the next month. And if you still can't pay it, there's another 19 or 22% on top of what you already paid versus what's already there. So, credit cards can become a very, very big problem. So that's why it's so great for us to go through activities like this so that you see exactly where your money's going, where you can cut back a little bit, maybe where you can increase some of your spending. These are just really great activities for you guys to be learning, especially at this age.
I'm going to put on the screen for any student or teacher our email and the website for the Junior Achievement website, because it is free. Just to remind you, it's free. They built this, Junior Achievement built this for everyone. It has activities and games, and some are teacher led and some you can just do on your own as a student. And so that's the website there. Are you seeing that okay, Haley? Is my
Yep.
Okay, great. And Haley is awesome at helping people get set up on it. So if you go to the website and you want to do some of the activities, might ask you for like a login or something, and you can just email Haley and she'll get you one right away. And as well, if anyone's interested in learning about like the idea market and how to do a market at their school and what support that I can provide, or want some release time to look at some of these resources, I've put my email there as well. So teachers, you can email me and we can set that up. I'm hoping that in April or May, once their supply teacher shortage kind of calms down, that we can start doing that again, because we were doing it in the fall. And there's a lot of cool stuff that the Learning Partnership and Junior Achievement and EECD, they're bringing a lot of free resources and making them available to meet math and literacy outcomes that they really just weren't there. I mean, how long has the Junior Achievement Campus been available, Haley? It's pretty new, right?
It is fairly new. It was a project that we were to do over the next, 5 to 7 years. And then the pandemic hit and we got it online, live, ready to go in about 2 weeks. So back in March of 2020, when schools closed, we worked hard to get everything online.
That's awesome.
And then
it's available in French too, right?
It is. So 2 years later, it is what it is now. We're very proud of it. It's fully bilingual. You can choose to do the program in French or English.
Awesome. Oh, Madam Crosby had a great question about what is a registered education savings plan, an RESP. I think that I got that's what it stands for. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't know a ton about them. I don't have any experience with them. I know they're great. I have friends who have set them up for their children. But basically it's a savings account that, your parents or you can put money into to help you pay for your education after you graduate high school.
I know a little bit about it. I have one set up for my kids, and it's great too, because if you put in, say you put in $40, the government will then kick in $10 as well. So now it just jumps to 50, and it earns a lot more interest. When a normal person, like any of you students, opens a savings account, if you put $100 in there and left it in there for a year, right now at the end of a year, it wouldn't even wouldn't add very much money. It'd probably be $101. It's safe and it grows a little bit, but these kinds of education savings plans, they grow a lot faster. If you put $100 in, after a year, it could be 105 or 110. So that's good, because over the years it piles up. It's really helpful. So I'll just say, if anybody does need to go, you can reach out to us. We could do a follow-up session with any of the classes. I see a lot of people, their lunch is starting right now, so that's awesome. And oh, Ms. Crosby said if you put in 2,000, the government will give you 500. So that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Great. Did you guys, Ruby, Frankie, Luke, or Jack, did you guys have any questions or anything you wanted to add before we run out of time? All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for participating.
you.
Love it.